2020, and we're going to call the school committee meeting to order. The first item on our agenda is our consent agenda, which has minutes from October 6th, and then the warrant number 0020. Did anybody get a chance to review those two items? If so, can we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions, comments, edits on either one of those? No changes? Okay. I have a question, Adam, for you. So the timing of the warrants, the ones that, for instance, Jen and I are signing, do they all come to the meetings before we sign them, or are there any that may actually come in between meetings? I just want to, because I can follow those numbers, the warrant numbers.
Well, yeah. So the expense warrants are going to be every other number, because then there's payroll warrants that are the number before that, which you guys don't see. I mean, my goal is to get you guys the warrants before every meeting.
Okay, so what you're saying is this warrant 0020 will now come to us for a signature. Is that for me and Jen to sign, or whoever else is going to?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none. All in favor to approve the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 I'm abstaining because I wasn't here.
Okay. Can we hear the other members? If you're in favor, please say aye. Or raise your hand, do something. Okay. How about you, Audrey?
I'm abstaining because I wasn't here, I said.
Okay. All right. So Stephanie, sorry. I thought it was Stephanie.
Oh, okay. No, I saw Stephanie raise her hand. I'm abstaining because I
All
wasn't.
right. So it's 4, and Audrey chose to abstain. All right. Thank you. All right. The next on our agenda is visitors' comments. I will just go to that screen and see if there is anyone who would like to speak. If you are a visitor today at this meeting, please use the raise hand feature on your Zoom, and we will unmute you so that you can speak.
I just made you co-host, by the way, Emery.
Pardon me? Thank you.
Made you
Thank you.
co-host.
Appreciate it. Yep. All right. I'll just give it 10 more seconds before we move on. Okay, so we have 27 attendees, which is awesome. I don't see any hands, so we're going to move on. Just a couple of quick notes. I appreciate, in fact, I love the fact that we have all those kind visitors who are coming in. Many of them are staying through some of our long meetings. This is really our opportunity to hear directly from you. And I just wanted to mention this because there are a lot of things that just come to us from second, third, fourth hand. It doesn't really help us to clarify anything that may be misunderstood, that may be a misinformation, that may be a rumor, that is not based on facts, if we do not have those conversations here, or if we do not hear directly from you. If you do not want to raise your hands here, if you're coming to these meetings, or if you're watching on YouTube, you're not at our meeting, but you're watching on YouTube, please feel free to reach out to any member of this committee directly, or our superintendent directly, and we will make sure that your question at least is aired during these meetings. But if we have to really do our communication through hearsay that may be circulating in social media, or assumptions that folks are making at home, we cannot resolve those issues. So I'm pleading with all of you to please come to us if you have any questions, any concerns about anything that is happening in our schools. Okay. So with that, we're going to move to our new business items, and we have quite a few new business items today. We're going to start with the Shriners Athletic Training Program.
Alex, you need to let Allison join it in.
All right.
Emery, and then also after Allie, can we possibly move Ken up next? Because
Yeah.
he should be relatively quick, and I just don't want him sitting around if we could help him out.
Of course. I thought Ken always enjoyed our long meetings, but sure.
Thank you.
Alex, I believe Dr. Bayomi and John Reedy from Shriners need to be made as panelists as well.
So, John Reedy, you said?
Yep, John Reedy, please, and Dr. Bayomi.
Bayomi.
Bayomi with a B.
Bayomi will be.
Hi, Alex. This is John. I've actually got George Gorton and Victoria Van Alstine Tower with us tonight from the hospital.
Allie, I don't see the other person.
Yeah, he might not be on. John, is he attending tonight?
Dr. Bayomi is not going to be able to join us tonight. I have Victoria and George are with us.
Okay, very good. And then Alex, will you give me access to share my screen? Oh, actually, I think I do.
Nope. There you go. You meant me now to share your screen.
Okay, working on it. Just got home, Alex. Hold
I
on.
didn't pull it over, by the way.
No, I didn't either. I didn't either. All the cops were at our game.
Yeah, right.
Okay, very good. So I'm just going to open up the tab for the slide deck shared from Shriners. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, very good. So, Carol, Shriners was the hospital that we are going to be partnering with. This was what Stephen had presented on my behalf to you a couple weeks ago. John Reedy is going to be spearheading majority of this partnership. He's the manager of athletic training, and he has put together this beautiful slide deck for us all to review. It shouldn't take too long, but also with him is Victoria, who's going to be our head trainer, and George Gordon, the director of business development as well. So if you have any questions, we can ask Dr. Gordon and Victoria at the end, and or John.
Okay.
John, it's all yours.
Ready. Well, first, I'd like to thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to talk about our program and how I think we can help partner and provide a service for the student athletes at Granby High School. So as I mentioned, I have with us tonight George Gorton and Victoria Van Alstine Tower, who's our outreach athletic trainer. We're going to do a little bit of a hybrid presentation. George is going to talk a little bit about the Shriners organization. I'm going to talk a little bit about our sports health and medicine program as a whole. And then Victoria is going to dive into a little bit about what athletic training services are and what that can look like at Granby.
Good evening. Thank you. And maybe we could switch to the first slide. My name is George Gorton. I'm the Director of Business Development at Shriners. And Shriners is part of a 22 hospital healthcare system that crosses the United States, Canada, and Mexico. We've been around in the Springfield area for 95 years now, and we provide a broad range of pediatric specialties and actually have the only board certified pediatric specialists for pediatric orthopedics, pediatric urology, pediatric physical medicine and rehabilitation, and a whole range of specialties. As part of our mission, we are trying to partner with organizations like the Granby Junior and Senior High School to provide athletic training services as part of our community benefits program. In 2015, we completed a strategic plan and community health needs assessment that identified a need in the community for providing education and first responder efforts for youth and athletic training to prevent injuries. So you can see our hospital behind us and my background. If you could flip to the next slide, please. Our mission is related to providing the highest quality care, to educating physicians, other healthcare professionals, and those would include coaches and leaders who work with our youth, as well as to conduct research. And we provide these services without regard for the family's ability to pay. Our vision is really to be the best at transforming lives. We're trying to improve quality of care, and that includes reducing childhood injuries, especially among, we know that our female athletes have increased risk of some types of injuries. And John and his team are specialists at helping to provide adequate, the best training resources to limit those things. If you go to the next slide. I'll flip back. I think, John, you're going to take over from here, but I want to thank you for hearing our presentation and for the opportunity to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about our sports health and medicine program as a whole, with the athletic training services being a component of that. The primary focus and one of our primary goals of our program is to take a multidisciplinary approach. So this slide kind of highlights some of the different providers that we have involved. Obviously, we're primarily talking about athletic training services today. We have an orthopedic surgeon, who's Dr. Ahmad Bayomi, that we've met with Ali a couple of times. And we also have a physical medicine and rehabilitation specialist who consults with us from Bay State. So he sees some of our non-operative patients. And then we also have in-house physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. These all see some of our kids either, post-injury, post-operatively, and assist in getting kids back to playing the sport that they love in a safe way. And then we also have some per diem athletic trainers that work with us as well. So if you can move to the next slide, Allie. In addition to that, we also have our advanced practice practitioners. So this includes physician assistants and nurse practitioners. So these providers work with our physicians to see patients in clinic. And they work with our outpatient team who helps to coordinate care either in-house or out, whether it's seeing providers in the community, which is something else our athletic trainers can help with. We also have in-house prosthetics and orthotics. So they make custom braces, custom orthotics, prosthetics, and those are available to us in-house as kids need them. So we can go to the next slide. So a little about our program. So who are our patients? So we treat, we kind of see the whole gamut. So we treat toddlers who sustain injuries while they're playing, children who are participating in, early recreational activities or competitive sports, all the way up through, late adolescent and even early college athletes, which of course would include Granby High School. So where else do we see patients? So this includes some of our community coverage, which we have an athletic trainer who's embedded at Sabas, which is a similar type of relationship we're talking about here. We have an athletic trainer, or we have several athletic trainers who provide per diem coverage for events at local high schools, youth football organizations. We've done youth gymnastics, cheerleading, really wherever the need is. That's hopefully where we're trying to be. So we have clinics in-house, as I mentioned, with our advanced practice practitioners. They're there every day. They run fracture clinics. They see scoliosis patients, kids with developmental disorders, cerebral palsy, things like that. Dr. Martinez, who I mentioned, is our physical medicine and rehabilitation specialist, is in twice a month, seeing our sports patients who are non-operative kiddos. And then Dr. Bayomi is in twice a week seeing patients. So we have 2 clinics a week there. We also do outreach to quite a few locations as a hospital. Even across the globe, we see some patients in Cyprus. We have clinics in Maine and quite a few others. We also do telehealth. So this is a good option for families who might have to travel a little bit further distance to receive their care. This has certainly been expanded throughout the pandemic, like many other places, trying to meet families where their needs are. So for concussion patients, this is obviously a hot topic in high school sports medicine. Dr. Martinez, I mentioned, consults with us from Bay State, and he actually has quite the complement of providers there. So we tend to defer patients to him there. They've got kind of the whole gamut of care that kids might need after they've sustained a concussion. So as I mentioned, we have rehabilitation services in-house. So we see most of our patients in clinic on our first floor, and our second floor, we see our patients in rehab. And then we also have an operating room on site. So kids who do need surgical management for sports injuries, we can take care of them in-house. We can go ahead to the next slide. So this is just some of our recent pictures. This is actually Dr. Bayomi taking care of one of our patients in clinic during the pandemic, as you can see with the masks. We also have radiology on site. And one of the really cool pieces we have is EOS, which is a different type of X-ray that actually can allow us to get some different views and also provides a significant reduction in the amount of radiation it takes to capture that image. So that's a really, really neat opportunity we have at Shriners. We'll go to the next one, Emily. Again, as I mentioned, we've got the outpatient rehabilitation services, as well as the orthotics and prosthetics on site. And with that, I think we're going to transition over to Victoria, and she's going to talk a little bit more about athletic training and what that can look like at Granby.
All right, hello, thanks for having me. So this is just a quick overview. I'm going to talk about what athletic training is, how I, as an athletic trainer, can help your athletic program, why athletic trainers as a whole are important, and the expectations going forward. So if you can scoot to the next one, thanks. So some fast facts, which I love. Only 37% of high schools in the US have access to a full-time athletic trainer. That's terrifying as an athletic trainer, but there's always room for improvement. Athletic trainers and physicians come to the same diagnosis 92% of the time. That means that Dr. Bayomi, John, myself, we're all on the same page all the time because of our training and our communication. Athletic trainers can reduce the medical cost of an ankle sprain by more than 50%. So as athletic trainers, we can diagnose an ankle sprain, go through, and rather than sending a kid or a family off to an ER where they have to pay for x-rays and all these things, we can diagnose it, treat it, rehab it, all on site. If there's a red flag, we can always send them out to Dr. Bayomi. So what is an athletic trainer? We are healthcare professionals who render service or treatment under the direction of or in collaboration with a physician. That's from our National Athletic Trainers Association. That's their definition, which we do. So we work John and I work very closely with Bayomi and have conversations about athletes, injuries, how we can better ourselves on the field or in the clinic. Credentialing for us, we all go through a 4-year program through accreditation. We study hard, take a big old national exam, and then we go through and we obtain licensure. Our licensure is renewed biannually on our birthdays, so we don't forget, good little birthday present. And we are also required to maintain 50-seat continuing education units every 2 years. So 10 of those have to be evidence-based practice, which encourages us and allows us to learn on what's working in other places, how can we be the most effective and efficient on the sideline, in the training room, and in clinics, and working with our providers. So we have a scope of practice as an athletic trainer. These are things we break down and study in school, and we're tested on for a national certification exam. I'm going to briefly, very quickly dive into these, give good details without getting too winded on it. So our first one is injury, illness prevention, and wellness promotion. So this is like optimizing quality of life, making sure that we're getting good nutrition. We can do conditioning programs, emergency action plans. With Granby high school students or any high school or college students, we're looking at injury prevention. If someone's got some weaknesses here, like what can we do and what can we give them to become stronger so that they don't get hurt and that they're playing longer. Also just mentioning, hey, did you get your snack after practice so that their recovery from practice is better? I personally have a 2 to 3 day rule. I don't like athletes keeping things from me. So let's touch base, see how it goes, adjust as we need to. But the last thing I want to do is pull a kid from practice or a game. They're going to be working on the sideline, or we're fixing it as soon as we can. The second one is our clinical examination, assessment, and diagnosis. So that first slide, the fast facts, 92% of the time athletic trainers reach the same diagnosis as our physicians. So this is us going through all the evaluation, range of motion, special tests for ACLs particularly. There's a few of them. We're also testing muscle strength on each side, the affected limb, the normal limb. And then we're also taking medical history so we know, is this an acute injury? Is this a chronic injury? And how are we going to approach it differently? And any possible differential diagnosis, which are oftentimes ruling out fractures or other issues, bigger picture wise. The third is immediate and emergency care of injuries. As athletic trainers, we are the first responders. When it comes to injuries, we're there before even EMS, worst case scenario, they have to come. So we deal with it before anybody else. And it's our job to make sure, one, the athlete feels safe, two, that the athlete is safe, and that we're doing everything in our power to keep them safe. Whether it be spine boarding, stabilizing fractures, just giving them a Band-Aid, making sure their blisters are okay. At Granby, I like to touch base with the local fire department. Worst case scenario, we have that communication so that if anything horrible happens, we're ready to go. I think this is where tools come in, emergency action plans, communicating, being trained, being ready to go no matter what the situation is. Our fourth is therapeutic interventions. So this is different in each setting that you're at. So therapeutic wise, up in our rehab room at Shriners is going to be different than what it is in a high school athletic training room versus what it's going to be in a collegiate athletic training room. But we're talking about manual therapies like massage or stretching, or modality uses, ultrasound or eStim, and braces. I have some background in training in rock blades, rock tape stuff, which is, you may or may not know, and I've also had training in other thermal ultrasound, as all athletic trainers are. So we have this deep dive of wealth and knowledge to help athletes and keep them healthy and keep them on the field. We also have psychosocial strategies. We're trained to deal with mental crises if they happen, what steps we need to take to keep people safe, what to watch for if someone seems off, if someone's not right. And then we also have healthcare administration and professional responsibility. This is us. This, I think, probably for me is like the most time-consuming effort, because we're taking, as athletic trainers, if we're ordering supplies and tape and wound care, we have to take ordering. We've got to worry about making sure we have our supply orders, budgeting. And then from the medical standpoint, we're also taking really good notes so that if we have to send an athlete out to Dr. Bayomi, our medical notes are, one, HIPAA compliant, two, clear as day, so that that athlete gets in there, Bayomi knows what he's doing and doesn't have to ask too many questions or dig too deep. I have a master's degree, thankfully, that helped me in this aspect of how to organize everything, along with the training I got in my undergrad. So it's a lot, but we're very skilled, and I take pride in that. All right, John, throwing it back to you.
All right. So I did want to take an opportunity to share a patient story from our other site status. I mentioned we have an athletic trainer embedded out there full time. She's been out there for about 3 years, and it's truly kind of become a staple in the athletics department at Sabas. So the example here, there was an athlete who was injured at an away game, and they went right to urgent care and were referred elsewhere, but also happened to follow up with the athletic trainer the next day. The athletic trainer was able to perform an evaluation at school in their training room, and was actually able to refer that patient to Shriners, and they were able to be seen and evaluated. I think they said it was almost 2 weeks ahead of when their original appointment was at the other location. And our provider was able to communicate back with the athletic trainer, and they were able to start doing some rehabilitative exercises basically 3 days after their injury. So in the time that they would have been waiting elsewhere, because of the structure we've built and that we've created for our athletic trainers to be able to get kids access to healthcare quicker, this athlete was actually able to be back doing pain-free activities of daily living before they would have even had their first appointment. So I think the takeaway from that story is our athletic trainers are really skilled evaluators. They can determine what the needs of the patient are, and try to find them the best and quickest access to the healthcare that they need, so that they can get back to doing what they want to be doing in a safe and healthy way. So I think that's kind of the highlight that we would hope the takeaway is there. So I think we've said our piece now. So I guess now we'll turn it back to you guys. If you guys have questions, we can kind of field those, whoever's most appropriate to answer.
Thank you all very much. Really appreciate it. This was very helpful and great to see that we're going to be partnering with Shriners. So appreciate that. I appreciate the presentation. So I'll turn to the school committee. Any questions?
I do. So this is something that we're being provided as like a service free of charge. We're just joining in and all of that.
Yes, that's correct. So we hired John and Tori and Sam as our full-time employees, and we work with you through a contract to provide their services at no cost to you. It's part of what we call our community benefits program. If you are aware of the Affordable Care Act, part of the Affordable Care Act is to give the requirement to hospitals who don't pay taxes to give back to the communities that they serve in other ways. And this is one of the ways that we've found that we can give back to our community to provide meaningful services, to improve quality of life, and to do things that you might not have it in your budget to be able to do.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I guess I'll go again because I have another one. So this will be mostly for the high schoolers, I assume, or because I know obviously Shriners works with all ages, but this is more for the sports-minded side, correct?
Yeah, so the primary focus would certainly be sports injuries, but we provide specialty orthopedic care, like I said, for all ages. So certainly I think, if there's, a younger student who's having an issue with family, where to get connected with Tori, that would be well within Tori's skill set to say, this would be appropriate for this family to see. It may be a different provider. It may still be Dr. Bayomi. But like I said, we've got a little bit of a complement of other providers as well. And that's part of our specialty is to recognize and refer things appropriately. So whether it's to Dr. Bayomi or another provider, nothing within the contract would prohibit her from, facilitating care for another provider or for a student.
Thank you.
When are we starting? You may have mentioned this already, but when are we starting this partnership?
So right now, we have a contract that we've been working with Allie to make sure that the pieces that are in the contract would be appropriate. It's being reviewed by our lawyers at our home office down in Tampa, Florida, and they'll be communicating with Allie and with your team to make sure that the terms are acceptable. And once the contract is signed, then we can begin. John, I think if you want to talk about what your anticipated start date is for it.
Yeah, so I talked with Allie. We've talked about hopefully November 30th, which would signify the first day of winter sports if they were to happen. certainly with kind of the asterisk that we know that coronavirus is still unpredictable, and that far away is quite a ways in COVID time. So, but that is our hope to try to get this in place for winter sports, assuming that those are happening.
And again, just to clarify, so does this mean that someone would be present at the athletic events just in case, or do those injured student athletes come to you if something happens, and that happens after the event, after the activity?
So in the ideal world, yes, an athletic trainer would be there. Based on the way this contract is structured, our hope would be to have Victoria be out there full time. Every now and then there may be a rare exception where she's needed at the hospital. But for the most part, my goal is to try to keep her at Granby full time whenever possible. So ideally she would be there, on practice days, on game days, to be able to be there, develop relationships with student athletes, coaches, parents. So hopefully that when she does see an injury, it's not the first time she's talked to that student. Hopefully the student would feel comfortable to talk to her. And then she can make her own assessment, come up with a plan of care, either whether that's to refer that patient out or to treat them on site. So the ankle sprain is the example that is something Tori is more than capable to assess, manage, and treat all on her own, assuming there's no other concern for fracture or anything beyond that.
And the last one, just you may have mentioned this already, but we're talking about on-site care. What do we know? What type of facility you need or room you need to be able to do this? Was there any discussion around that already?
Yeah, so we've actually had some great conversations with Allie, and we've set up a site visit on, I believe, November 5th. So myself, Victoria, and Dr. Bamley will be coming out to visit and kind of work through some of those logistical pieces of, what kind of space do we need? Tori's been working in the background pretty diligently on, potential supplies and things like that. So that conversation is a little bit ongoing, but I think we've got a good plan in place to try to establish that.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question. I don't know if you can hear me.
It's choppy, but we can hear you, Jen.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I have a video off and see if it helps. I'm just wondering, when you say that she'll be there full time, will she be there for like gym class and stuff when students are in the building, or is it only for the sports?
So a little bit of that will depend on, Tori and Allie will communicate and determine an appropriate schedule. But the primary focus would be for athletics, typically is after school. But a little of that will come in the day-to-day operation, which Allie and Tori would determine on site.
And those are for home games. She won't be traveling with the team, correct?
Yeah, so that's something actually Allie had asked us in our last meeting, which again, that's a little bit of an operational decision. We certainly wouldn't want to leave, a home event uncovered. But again, there's some situational pieces that play into that. Does the place that the team's going have an athletic trainer? Do they not? What are the things that are going on at home? Are you also hosting a playoff game at home? Something like that.
Okay.
So again, that's a little bit of an operational day-to-day decision between Tori and Allie.
Okay.
So just that triggers a thought. Are you only responsible of Granby students, or if a visiting student athlete gets injured, are you also taking care of them as well?
So typically it's customary for athletic trainer to treat whoever's in front of them. So there's in the MIA paperwork that student athletes have to complete. There's a consent, there's kind of a blanket consent for medical treatment. So that way that would allow Victoria to treat visiting athletes too. Certainly the relationship component wouldn't necessarily be there. She probably won't know them the way that she'll know a Granby athlete. But she can certainly go through the same process and evaluate, and depending on what they have access to, if we know that they have an athletic trainer at their school, she can communicate with their athletic trainer. If it's more emergent, she can provide recommendations to the family, whether that be following up at urgent care, potential referral to Shriners or elsewhere if the family's established care somewhere else. But she can certainly provide care. It's not going to be well, you're not a Granby athlete, you can just stay there with your broken leg. That's certainly really diving into the ethical component that, if there's a student athlete that we can provide care to and provide assistance to, we'd be ethically obligated to do that, certainly. But again, there's that blanket consent through the MIA paperwork.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Okay. Well,
there's no other questions. I would just like to make one note in regards to the contract. We've talked a lot about the ability to refer patients to Shriners. I just want to be absolutely crystal clear up front that this does not constitute a requirement for Granby student athletes to seek care at Shriners. We certainly think we provide a high quality service and like to try to limit barriers to receiving that care. But certainly we would never, dissuade a family from seeking care elsewhere if they've got a preferred provider or if they've established care elsewhere. But our goal is to try to provide access when we can and certainly facilitate wherever possible. So I just want to make sure that that's really clear up front. There's no requirement for students to come to Shriners Hospital, but we're certainly happy to take care of them if we can help them.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. All right. So thank you all very much for coming. Thank you very much for the partnership. We're looking forward to it. And looks like we're going to see you soon.
Thank you guys for your time. We appreciate it.
All right. So on that great first positive note, we're moving to the next one, the new club yoga.
Hold on, Emery. Can we just move Ken up to the next? Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, I assumed Ken was going to talk about yoga, but I guess that's not. He's not doing that yet. Sorry, Ken.
Alex,
yeah,
Alex, can we make him a panelist? Oh, there he is. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Ken.
How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me tonight. I just want to go over a little update on the food service, what we've been doing for the last month. The past September, we did 12 service days. We served over 2,400 breakfasts and 2,400 lunches, just to give you a little perspective on what we did. Currently, this week, we've been currently serving about 260 to 270 breakfast and lunches per day. So on a Monday, we service 2 meals. So we've been handing out over 520 breakfasts and lunches per day. On a Wednesday, we service 3 meals. So we've been doing over 780 breakfasts and lunches per day, just to put that in perspective. I'm not sure if everybody knows, the USDA just extended the free meals for the rest of the school year till June 30th. So that's great news for everybody. So starting in November, we are going to extend our days to Monday, Wednesday, Friday as far as handing out. And we're going to do Fridays, we're going to hand out weekend meals because we think it's just necessary for the community, which I think is a great thing for everybody. I know there might have been some concerns. I've heard some rumbles about the menus. Other districts are serving hot, others serving cold. There's been some factors in that. Couple factors is the unknown. We just did not know. This is new to everybody, so we just didn't know what to expect. So that was one of them. We weren't sure on our numbers. We didn't want to do hot meals, commit to hot meals and waste product. It was just a lot easier to do cold meals. It was just easier in that aspect. And space. We're working out of an elementary kitchen, which is very challenging. We're doing 500, 700 meals a day. It's just been very challenging for us. Going forward this month, we have definitely we've introduced some hot items. We've done some pizzas, some cheeseburgers, hot dogs, and going forward, we're going to expand on our menu for hot items. So I don't know if anybody has any questions, concerns.
Ken, I just want I just want to just kind of take a couple steps back and just kind of let the committee know. So currently we serve meals on Mondays and Wednesdays. So on Mondays, we serve meals for Monday and Tuesday. And then Wednesday, we serve meals for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Starting in November, like Ken mentioned, we will be doing, we'll be adding a third service day on Friday, which will then cover meals over the weekend for all families. So we'll be serving Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which will cover 7 days of meals for all families. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear for everybody.
Correct.
And Ken's also started a flyer campaign, you know, so he's passing out flyers, notifying the people that are currently coming for meals. And I believe we're also going to be posting it on the website so people will know.
Correct. And starting next week, we'll be handing out flyers to the families that come by and to let them know the changes of our delivery service.
And because the USDA extended the waiver for free meals for all families, we are not tracking specific families on who are picking up meals. That's not an obligation for this. All we are tracking is the actual amount of meals that we are serving. So we don't know what families per se are picking up meals. That's not a requirement when the USDA extended the waiver for free meals. All we need to do is track how many meals we are serving each day, each month.
Correct. The USDA gave us a sheet. It's like a tally sheet. So we check off as many meals as we, as we serve. So that's how we know how many meals we're doing per day.
So just to clarify that, there's a community aspect to this in my mind. You know, the community is benefiting from a service like this. So are we saying that we do not know whether some of those folks may or may not be from Granby?
Unfortunately, absolutely. It's a program where anybody, and as long as you're 0 years old to 18 years old, you can come to this district and get a meal. There's no tracking.
Emery, that's also true for our school choice students. They can go to whatever town that they live in and can go to a school and get a lunch there.
So, okay, so does that mean that still those individuals have to have some connection to the school district?
No.
It doesn't matter. I mean,
you don't have to have.
It doesn't have to be from our district. Anybody
nope.
can just stop by and then pick up a meal. That's what
Exactly.
which is not a bad thing,
Correct.
but just in terms of really understanding the impact on our own community, it looks like we can't do that.
And
Just to let you know, in May and June, when the pandemic started, we were doing 20 meals a day. I mean, we are up to 260 meals a day. So the whole Facebook, the whole social media has really gotten the word out. It's been a great thing. It's wonderful seeing these families come. I mean, families are coming for other families. It's just a great thing to see. It's remarkable.
Stephanie, you have a question?
And go ahead, Stephanie.
Oh, it's okay, Adam. You can continue.
I was just going to say, so kind of in correlation with that. So the only revenue that we're seeing right now for our food service program is the reimbursement from USDA based on the amount of meals that we are serving per month. So right now, the USDA reimbursement for a lunch is $3.18. And the reimbursement amount for breakfast is $2.26. So that's why Ken obviously needs to keep track as to how many breakfasts and lunches we serve throughout the month, because we're reimbursed by the USDA for those meals. So for the month of September, Ken mentioned that we did about 4,800 meals, and our reimbursement was a little over $14,000 from the USDA for all of those meals that Ken and his staff served to Granby families.
Stephanie, go ahead. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Adam. And thanks, Ken. And just thank you to everyone who's been working so hard to make this happen. I've heard
such great things among the community. Everyone's so excited for this, and it's been wonderful. My only question is adding that Friday for meals over the weekend. Is that something, is USDA doing that? I haven't heard of any other areas doing that yet. Is that something that USDA is extending for all districts, or did we apply for any sort of extension?
Actually, since May, we could have gone on the weekend plan. I mean, I know Holyoke's doing it, Chicopee's doing it, East Hampton's doing it. I mean, there's a lot of communities that are doing the weekend meals. So, and I think it's needed, and I think it's a great thing for the district and just for the community.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, I didn't realize that we could have done it since May. So essentially, we clearly have the interest, the need, and the warrant to offer it Friday. So I think that's wonderful. So thanks everyone for everything that you guys are doing. It's been terrific.
Thank you.
I have a question. So my question would be how this continues once the kids start to phase in, because obviously the kids that are phasing in are getting the free lunches too, or breakfasts too, but it's not the same menu as I understand too. So just to kind of maybe elaborating a little bit on that.
Yeah, well, being an in-house, we have an in-house menu and we're having a grab and go menu. Our in-house menu is more of what they've seen in the past, more hot meals. The grab and go menus have been more, I mean, nobody's really ever done this before. So it's more like, hot dog that's chilled. We give you instructions, put the hot dog, you can pan fry it, you can microwave it. So it's a little different, the grab and go menus compared to in-house. In-house is more of what they're used to, getting the sloppy joes, getting the chicken stir fries. So it's a little different as far as menu wise in-house compared to the curbside.
But with the curbside pickup, anyone can still pick up curbside, even though their child is in school getting a meal in school too, correct? I mean, I'm just.
Absolutely.
Okay. And are we, because right now I don't believe we have an in-house menu set up, right?
We do. We've the last couple of weeks, we've had some in-house. So we've started that in-house menu.
Okay. Because
it's been a little bit, it's been a little bit more like the curbside, but now that we get more students, we're starting to go into in-house, a more of a traditional of what they've seen in the past menu.
I meant more like with our kindergartners, like these little ones coming in, because I've had a parent reach out to me, like, is there a place that it's posted that they can see it so they can decide, do I send my kindergartner that's probably pretty picky with a lunch, or do I just, like, is it posted anywhere? Because I didn't see it on the app. Is it Chartwells, the app?
NutriSlice.
NutriSlice. Sorry,
yeah, we will get that up. If it's not up there, I'll take a look and we'll make sure we get those up.
It was over the weekend that I had peeked because I had a mom reaching out to me that has a kindergartner, and I was like, oh, there's an app, and and then I was like, oh, nothing's there yet. So I was just curious if it was like posted anywhere.
Yeah, we'll make sure we get those up in.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Audrey, I think it went home in last week's weekly update too.
Oh, I didn't see it.
From the school.
Okay. Like the food menu for the week did?
Yes.
Okay. I did not see that. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. So just going back to the planning and the financial side of this, you mentioned that we are being reimbursed by USDA, and there's a determined amount per meal, and it's all set. Does that mean that there is really no cost to the district in this program?
Well, no, we still have our contractual obligation to, Chartwell. So, and Ken, you can elaborate on some of this. We still need to purchase food. Obviously the food's not free that's provided to us. And Ken, you get into that, but we're still contractually obligated to Chartwells to provide their service to us. So there is an expense to this as well.
Yeah, Adam, there's a misconception out there. I've heard people saying USDA is funding this whole program. That's not how it is. We still have to purchase the food. We need the labor. It's just that USDA is allowing every student to get a free meal. So we get the free meal reimbursement, which is good. I mean, some of the kids that are usually it's reduced, it's paid. So the reimbursement rate is a lot lower. So we still have to pay for all the food, all the paper. I'm going to be upfront. I mean, doing a grab and go program, it's labor intensive. I mean, you're packing everything. It's very labor intensive. So labor it's a little bit more than what we're used to do, what we're used to have. I mean, it's
so,
labor.
you know, it is kind of difficult for someone like me who is in complete support of programs similar to this and beyond. I'm just trying to understand the impact of this, especially since we mentioned that this was basically, we don't know who these folks are. They can come in and grab, and we know that we're doing it for every single day now, you know, Monday through Sunday. Do we have any projections as to what the financial impact of this could be on our budget? Are we going to be within what we have carved out for our our meal programs, our food services programs?
Yeah, so September was a partial month, so we won't be able to get any, I would say, accurate projections maybe through the month of October through November, but we can't go based on September only because that was a partial month, and we're going to be starting in November. We'll be handing out more meals than September and October, so it'll be a few months before we can put a pretty accurate projection together to see where we'll be financially.
But again, just I'm a little I'm gonna try to understand if we know how much we're gonna get per meal, and if we have any projections are projections. If we know the labor cost, I'm assuming that we would have some projections without having to wait for the actuals so many months into this program, correct?
Yes, we can. Yep, Ken and I can certainly work on a projection based on the amount of meals that we're serving. Yeah. Yes.
And here's, I mean, just with some exaggeration, here's where I'm going with this. I don't want to really, find ourselves in a very deep, negative number at the end of the year while we're celebrating this absolutely great feel-good story. I mean, there's nothing against what we are doing, absolutely in support of it, but I also want to make sure that we understand the financial repercussions of it and we are keeping track of it so we can understand, have a conversation, and see how we can mitigate the financial impact of it. Because if we don't know, what the costs are, it can be anything at the end of the fiscal year, correct?
No, I agree to what you're saying, Emery, and that's why our commodity food, we've been utilizing as much commodity food as we have on hand right now. And as far as labor, we're not using as much labor as we use during the school year. But I'm just saying
it's tough right now because we had, again, a partial month, so we only served partial meals, and Ken only had partial labor. He bought partial food.
No, that I understand. Yes. Yep.
So in a couple of weeks, once October the claim is set and I get an invoice from Chartwells, then I can certainly put some more accurate projected numbers on what the food service program will look like come June 30th.
Okay. I mean, Ken, don't take this the wrong way. It's not meant to be derogatory, but there is really almost nothing for Chartwells to lose in this, right? The more we produce, the more is sold, the more labor is used. It doesn't seem like there is any instance here where Chartwells is going to have a negative impact on its financials. But on the other side, we have a budget. We have a line item that says food services for the school district. I would love to celebrate this story every month, but I would like to also understand what the impact of this is on our financials.
I totally understand what you're saying. And looking based on the last month, I'm like, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I think the meals that we're doing right now with the labor, with the food, I think we'll be happy with what we're with October.
Okay.
Because like Ken mentioned that every meal that we are serving is eligible for that free rate, where that's going to be a lot more than the free meals we've served in the past. So that revenue is going to be higher. Hopefully, if we keep this pace up and all these meals that we're provided, that revenue is going to be higher than in past years. So it'll work in our favor, at least that aspect of it. And we're going to try with Ken, the staff is doing a great job now. We're going to try to keep that labor down. We're going to try to keep the cost of purchasing foods down, where at the end of the year, we will be in the black in our, our revolving funds if this, trajectory continues throughout the year.
One last question, and then I'll turn it to everyone else. Is there a per unit cost projection?
Per unit. You mean
So,
per...
we know that we are getting reimbursed $3.51. Is that what you said? Per meal?
It's $3.18 for lunch and $2.26 for breakfast.
Do we know how much it costs to produce?
Per meal, per breakfast and per lunch? I can get that to you. I don't want to give you any missed figures. I mean, I kind of ballpark it.
If we can have that, that will be great. Because, I mean, it's simple math, right? If however much we are getting for the free meals is less than however much we're spending, that would mean negative for us. If, we're almost the same, good conversation to have, and if we're in the positive territory, that's, that's something else if it costs us less to produce that. So it would be good to understand when we meet next time.
Okay, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Anyone
Can
else?
I just ask another question? Logistically, I'm just feeling for all of the hard work going into this. Without any sort of sign up or anything, how do you know how many meals to prep a day? And once they're prepped, can we reuse them if they don't go, or can we not? How does that work?
I would say on my end, it's a lot of experience. We just kind of figure it out. The first week was tough. That's why we did more of a cold meal menu, because it was easy to put together when we needed it. Or hot meals, it would have been very hard to produce as we needed them. So at this point, after 2 weeks, you kind of get a base of how many you're going to do. I mean, we're usually 10, 15 off, but for the most part, we're pretty much on for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We've been pretty much on. But the first week or two, it was a challenge. But that's why our menus were a little bit simpler, because they're a lot easier to put together when we needed them. So, but for the last 3-4 weeks, we've basically been 10, 15 meal differential.
Well, that is very impressive for how many meals you guys are serving.
Yeah, the staff's amazing. I mean, they've stepped up. It's just amazing to watch them. I mean, if people could just come in and watch our operation for a day, I mean, people would be like unbelievable for the conditions and the space that we utilize. It's amazing, totally amazing.
So just
we really don't want anybody to come to watch you, but one idea could be Alex is on. If Alex, if there is a chance to really, one day, film the operation, it may be a nice thing to really share with everybody. And I don't mean to put you on the spot. I know that you have a lot on your plate, but one day if we could film it, that we could share it.
So speaking of the operation, are they, with the cold lunches, are they just putting them in bags as people are coming up and requesting them, or are they pre-made? No,
we have like I said, if Alex could come, the production line in the cafeteria we got 250, 260 meals produced. We put them on big rolling racks, put them in the coolers. It's the productions. It's incredible what they do.
Okay, it is, because I know of people who, pick up for their whole street, and I can just imagine rolling up and being like, I need 14 meals, and that's got to be really tough. Do we have a plan for when, as the weather gets cooler, what we're going to be doing, or as winter approaches? I hate to say it, but it is October.
Yeah, well, the location we're in now, we got a double doors. We're just going to bring it inside the doors, and unfortunately, families are just going to have to come to the door, and we'll just distribute them out to the door. I mean, it's not really going to change too much. They'll just have to walk a little bit further into the door.
Okay. Awesome, thank you.
So, Adam, could you email me Ken's email? We can.
Sure, Ken.
Awesome, thank you. And Ken, I'll be reaching out to you probably tonight.
Okay, appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care. And thank you for that. This is a great story.
Be safe, everybody.
You too. All right, moving on to now back to new club yoga. So you said new yoga club.
Awesome. Thank you. So here I am again, pitching a new idea for a club. We're offering a class at the high school this year. Falls on, I believe, an A block first thing in the morning, and it's been pretty popular having yoga. And we would like to run yoga as an extracurricular activity for our students at Granby Junior Senior High School. There is no budget impact, and it will be replacing a club that unfortunately wasn't able to fill this year because really that club needs to be in person. That club was Strategic Gaming Club. So with that in mind, we didn't want to see a club go unfilled, and with the increasing popularity of yoga in the district, we would like to seek your approval to move forward with yoga as a club.
All right.
So this is a virtual club?
Yep.
That's awesome. Great idea.
So can I do it?
Nope. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have said that so quick. No.
Who's the instructor again?
It would be Jessica Roy.
Okay. So honestly, just thinking about it, there is a lot of demand probably for this. I'm wondering if this could be maybe in the future, since we're going to be doing it virtually, could be one of those adult education opportunities that we can provide.
Right. Yeah, I think it's growing a lot, and the kids, the feedback that we're getting is pretty incredible. It's nice to start your day off at a 2 versus a 10. So just seeking your approval, and that's it.
Okay. And how many students do you have so far?
Well, I knew you were going to ask that, Emery. We put out a questionnaire last week. It went out in the RAM report to students. I also emailed it out to students as well for our club's sign up. Just to gauge interest across the the junior high school, sorry. And again, it's out there just gauging interest. So I believe there was a couple last I looked, but again, we didn't want to push it completely. It was just to gauge interest until we had the final approval.
Okay. Is there a threshold that you're looking for, or if 3 people sign up, you will still go ahead? And I'm assuming there's a cost to it too, correct?
Nope, no cost to it.
There's no cost to this? No stipend, nothing associated with it?
Oh, yeah, yes. I thought you meant to sign up for the class. No, there's no drop-in fee. Yes, there is a stipend that comes attached to the position, but it's already budgeted for.
Okay. That means we have some slack in the budget, or does it mean that we already knew that we were going to have a yoga club?
Nope. No, that means we are not running Strategic Gaming Play Club because we were unable
so this will be a swap. Okay.
So we're swapping it out for something more popular.
All right.
And it's going to meet the needs of a lot more kiddos because they can do it virtually.
Okay.
So I wouldn't foresee a max on the participation. I'd love to see it grow. I think our current class right now has 18 in it or something like that. But yeah, it's endless possibilities with a virtual class.
Cool. Awesome. Any other questions for Allie?
I guess just with a new club, do you have to register anything or get any sort of behind the scenes? Is that already all set? With just swapping I know that the stipend's there, but is there any other paperwork part of it that needs to be done, or is that already all set?
No, the paperwork part is me presenting to you as a school committee to approve a new club. And that's pretty much it. The other part is just getting people to sign up. And then once you are part of a club in membership at the school, you have to undergo a hazing training. And that is usually given by the advisor. That's the law. So that's something that the students would have to complete. But no, the behind the scenes stuff is presenting and getting your approval.
Cool. So with that, is there a motion to approve the new yoga club?
I'll make a motion to approve the yoga club.
Cool. Is there a second? Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Stephanie. Quick question related to the Strategic Gaming Club. Honestly, I still like the idea. I think that there is a lot of is there an expectation that it's going to come back? And why do you think it did not work? Because I thought that could work virtually as well, right?
A lot of the games that they play are some of the are board games in person, and
okay.
a lot of the strategic game place club members are our esports members.
Okay, makes sense.
So yeah, I think for the past few years we flip-flop a little bit with club membership. Given the times and given our kiddos at school and what their interests are, they definitely shift over time.
Okay, thank you, Allie.
Yep.
Cool. All in favor to approve the new yoga club, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Approved unanimously. Thank you very much, Allie. Thank you very much, Allie.
Nice job, Allie.
I don't know if we have anything else with Allie. She can probably take some break.
Nope, Allie's done.
All right. Thank you, Allie. Have a good evening. Is my voice coming robotic as okay? Because I hear myself, I hear the echo. That is static and robotic.
I think you were echoing somehow off of Jen.
You are.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jen, what we learned from this is that if we tell you to start your sentence when we start the meeting, we'll probably get the end of it as we get to the topic. So that's pretty good. Yeah, sorry about that, but we can understand what you're saying. It just takes a little longer. That's okay. All right, going back to the agenda. What do we want to do with our November 3rd school committee meeting, given that that's election day? I would basically suggest not having it.
Okay.
Personally, my mind would be somewhere else. And I think it's an important day, for us, for all of us. So I don't really want to presume that anyone would like to be at a school committee meeting versus, following what's going on across the country. So if we agree that we should change the date, what would be a good date for us to meet?
Do we want to just do again next week, or do we want to do it the week behind? Because when's our following one after the 20th, or after the 3rd, excuse me?
I think that's 2 weeks after that.
Right. So the
17th. So what I was thinking, meet that Wednesday.
Oh, okay. Do it that week on Wednesday.
Yeah, and just keep it that week, but a different day. But I don't know if anybody else has any obligations during the week.
I can make it work, but Wednesdays are a trickier day.
Okay, how about Monday?
My family.
Well, Monday may not be a great day because of something that I'm going to share with you all.
I'll leave it up to the rest of the committee. I can make Wednesday work.
Okay. How does it sound for everybody else? So that would be Wednesday, November the 4th.
Okay.
That's fine for me.
Jen, Stephanie?
Yeah,
Okay,
that'll work.
Good. Okay. All right. So we'll move our meeting to Wednesday, November the 4th, and we're not going to have a meeting on November 3rd. So the reason why I said that, we don't want to have it on Monday probably, we have a new liaison from the select board. Jen Silva will be joining us as a select board liaison at our meetings to the extent possible. And if we have the meeting on Monday, that would have been her first meeting. It would have been, she could not make that meeting, and she could not come this evening. She told me she would be watching this later on, but she has child duties tonight unexpectedly, so she could not make it. All right, so moving on to the last item under new business, which is related to our policies. And Carol, I'll ask you to drive that, please.
So I've provided you the anti-discrimination harassment policy along with the grievance procedures. In May of this year, the U.S. Department of Education issued changes to Title IX. Both of these documents were vetted by our attorneys, to make sure that we were in line with the new regulations. And so it went into effect on August 14th. So once approved, we will make sure that we do training. Our hope is to do training on November 3rd, and I believe Megan Shepard will be holding that training with staff. Megan, Allie, and Scott Taylor have all been through the new training. So they will be our investigators if an investigation needs to happen.
Thank you, Carol. Any questions for Carol on the policy? So the question that I have for the committee is this. Typically, we have a first reading and then we take a little time, come back based on questions and evaluation of the policy. We do our voting then. But we also have, especially for policies that have legal background as this one does, if you had an opportunity to review and you're okay with it, we can consider this our second review and then take a vote tonight. I'm good with that. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say essentially the same thing when we were working on that with Cheryl. If it was something that we were taking essentially directly from the books, so to speak, there wasn't a need to have to do it because we're just trying to be compliant. So I would agree with just having this be our second reading.
Okay, thank you, Jen. Okay, so unless there are any other questions, then can we have a motion to approve the, I'll just read the full name, approve the anti-discrimination, anti-harassment policy and grievance procedure?
I'm just going to be very honest. I had another meeting prior to this and then one like all afternoon, and I had not fully read over the policy. I'm just going to be very honest. I can, it's not very long, but just putting it out there. I didn't check the folder today. And
yeah, and this is not something that we are making or we are tweaking for ourselves. This is a pretty much a template version of it. Is that fair to say, Carol, because of all the legal reference? Yeah.
Yes.
But I appreciate you explaining that, Stephanie. All right, so is there a motion to approve the policy?
I'll make that motion, Emery.
Thank you, Audrey. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor to approve, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Stephanie, are you abstaining?
yeah, just because honestly, I didn't see it.
Okay, so we'll approve it 4 in favor and there's 1 abstention. Thank you all. So going back to our agenda, now we are under our continuing business and we are revisiting our standing item related to our reopening planning process and updates from our safety committee.
Correct. So Monday, as far as our reopening planning goes, we welcomed our kindergartners back, as well as our preschool peer partners and a few more upper grade students. It was very exciting seeing them in the building. They're happy to be here. Seeing the cafeteria, with kids in it has been great too. Watching them get off the buses. We've got to look at the buses a little bit. Some of them are really thin. I don't know if we need all the buses that they're using right now. So I know Bill and Adam will be looking at that, but they're just so happy to be back, and it's great to have them in the building. We had the safety committee meeting today. We had an opportunity to review our metric with Dick Bombardier. He was providing us with you know, a lot of the information, as I'm sure all of you are aware, that the number of communities that are moving to yellow and red is, you know, at a rapid clip right now. And so he was just letting us know, you know, that we have had some cases and that, you know, we would, you know, tomorrow is the day that the announcement of districts. He did emphasize that because we're so small, we never really get to go to green. We would literally go from our gray, you know, to yellow because of the low numbers that we need to move in between. So we are moving to yellow. This week, we've had some cases. He talked about, you know, doing our due diligence about mask wearing, social distancing, and, you know, washing our hands. It's, you know, the only thing that really mitigates, you know, this virus. Another thing that I did want to mention, Emery, is that I believe the school committee received an anonymous letter regarding some concerns with our sports. That's correct, right?
It is correct. You know, just a clarification on that one. I understand that that was received by the Board of Health and
correct.
Possibly someone at state as well. So we're addressing it that way. Just want to make sure, going back to what I said at the visitors segment.
Yes.
These are things that we would like to hear about if there are violations of anything, and it helps all of us. But when you know, a claim comes anonymously, and we don't really know what, we can't go back and ask questions, clarifying questions. We don't have any evidence behind that. It is just basically an anonymous concern that is being shared. In this case, we wanted to make sure that we use this opportunity, given that it was sent to multiple sources, to give some input to our community, to our school community and community overall. Go ahead.
Correct. And so for me, I just wanted to put it out there that we also received a copy of that email, and we have concerns regarding these allegations. As Granby Junior Senior High School has strictly enforced social distancing and mask wearing of athletes and visitors. Additional staff, Allie is one of those additional staff. Allie is in attendance at all games, and she also has 3 others at games to monitor and ensure compliance with social distancing and mask wearing. Fortunately, all of our Granby Junior Senior High School games are live streamed. So we will be able to review these videos to confirm our compliance. A few points of consideration is during games, all athletes are required to wear masks. If a mask falls, the referee stops the game and asks the player to pull it back up. There is no contact allowed due to the new sports guidelines. If players are in close contact, the referee's whistle blows to stop the game. Several rules have been put in place to avoid contact. For example, heading. No players are allowed to head the ball. Also, guidelines do not allow for walls to be formed. This avoids close contact. So the email that came in, it is general in nature, but it's highlighting things that really doesn't sound like it pertains to us. We're playing within a bubble. People aren't traveling from other places, and there is no contact, because it's not allowed. So we are going to do our due diligence. We had more people out there today overseeing. We're going to emphasize with our visitors and with our athletes the requirements. So I just wanted, to put it out there in case, people have heard this, that we are taking this very seriously, But we do feel that we have the, we have been focused on compliance of social distancing and mask wearing. So,
Thank you, Carol.
you're welcome. Okay, so the next thing that I wanted to talk about, when we met with the safety committee today, we did do an update about the ventilation and let everyone know that on the 7th, we did have a meeting with the Massachusetts Department of Energy Resources and got the okay from them, to use HEPA filters and it not jeopardize our green status for future grants. So that was really good news. We also had a site visit by Davy Engineering. In preparation for using the HEPA filters, we had set up prototypes in several different rooms. So some of the classrooms have drop ceilings and some classrooms have hard ceilings. So we had to set up different types of setups. And so they came in and checked out all of our different rooms that we had made prototypes, and we got the approval to move forward with implementing or installing filters in the different classrooms. We are also following their recommendations of putting louvers in many of the doors to allow additional air to get into our buildings. Our vents on the roof, which there are 23 of them, are running 20 out of 24 hours a day. So you open a door at the high school, you're blown into the building, because the wind is that those built things are pulling you through. There was talk about concerns about the decibels of the HEPA filters. And I actually got a text from Dick Bombardier after the meeting telling me how much I've learned about airflow. But he did jump in at the meeting and save me when I was trying to explain that we had built these insulated boxes, to help bring down the decibels. And so we went actually to East Meadow and checked decibel levels, and as well as Granby Junior Senior High School. And interestingly, in some of the classrooms at East Meadow, their decibel levels are high as well. And a lot of it has to do with our tweaking of the air circulation to maintain 5 air changes in every classroom every hour. So air is whipping through the buildings. Dick was great in, bailing me out and explaining. We also had a conversation today about cleaning. The difference between your everyday cleaning where, the trash is emptied, floors are swept, the rooms are disinfected. I don't know if everyone on the school committee knows, but we have hung signs in all of the rooms in every building. And so the signs are either red or green. So on the red side, it says that this classroom needs to be disinfected. On the green side, it says this classroom has been disinfected. So as custodians go through classrooms and, on every day, whether, they're sweeping, emptying the trash, they switch the sign so that when the teacher returns the next day, they know that the classroom has been disinfected. But the teacher, when the teacher leaves, she flips it to red to let the custodian know. So that way if there are classrooms that aren't being used or any spaces that aren't being used, the custodian doesn't start from one end of the building and move through. They go to the classrooms that have the red. So a typical everyday, they sanitize and disinfect, they do the bathrooms, they do the door handles, they do the sinks, and several times a day, they're moving through the building. On a deep clean, it means that the rooms, the common areas, the bathrooms, the staff rooms will be totally disinfected. Chairs, desks, teachers' desks, sinks, door handles, any surfaces that get touched will be disinfected. And in addition, each room will be swept, vacuumed, mopped, or and counters cleaned. At the high school, many of the classrooms that have rugs, during the conversation, Stephen let them know that they do have rug cleaners, you know, so rooms with rugs, you know, may get vacuumed on Mondays and Tuesdays and Thursdays and Fridays, but on Wednesdays, you know, they may be shampooed. So we went through this whole discussion about cleaning, and then someone asked Dick for, you know, his thoughts. You know, did he feel that this was a good approach? And Dick pretty much said that all that cleaning is wonderful, but what really mitigates COVID is air circulation, because this is an airborne virus. And he said, the cleaning is great, but what's going to save us is making sure that we are moving the air in the classrooms. He says, moving the air, wearing masks, social distancing, and hand washing is the best mediator for COVID. So it was a good meeting with Dick. He provided a lot of information, and I feel that, you know, we're in a good place. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Carol. I have a quick question. Hopefully
Sure.
not throwing a curveball at you, but so we have Wednesdays are deep cleaning day.
Yep.
And thank you for explaining the difference between every day and Wednesday. So the cohort that comes in Thursday and Friday,
Yes.
is there another deep cleaning on the weekend, or what is?
So on Fridays, yeah, on Fridays, yes, there is we still sanitize and disinfect, but you also have 2 days in between where, you know, the virus, the building is circulating and the virus is being removed, you know. So yes, the rooms on Friday are disinfected and cleaned as they are every Monday and Tuesday.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Carol?
I have a question. I'm going to speak with long pauses. So I heard you mention it, Carol, but do we have Dick's or the Board of Health metric yet?
Yes, yes. They provide their metric to the safety committee. So they
I thought we were going to see that.
I can certainly share that with the school committee each week. Yes.
I thought that was the plan, because I would like to know what
Sure.
the whole point was to see what their metrics is based or compared to what the state metric is on that map, so that we have some sort of comparison.
Well, it's not, so the Board of Health does use that data, but their metric is more about information, okay? Because when we get the metric from the state, it is not providing us information. It is telling us the number of people that have COVID, but it doesn't tell us who those people are. How are they connected to the schools? Are they connected to the schools? Is this a widespread, or is this just within a family? So when the Board of Health looks at their data and provides us the data, they're providing us similar data to what the state provides us. But what the difference is they have information about the cases. So I'll kind of give you an example. Recently, a community was shut down because they went red. But they had a nursing home in their community, and the whole issue was at the nursing home. So it wasn't that the people were out in the community. It was a single issue. So having the Board of Health have the information about the cases, we're better able to make a decision on whether or not the schools are in jeopardy.
Okay. And I have a second question that goes to having the high school students out of East Meadow.
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I'm letting the audio catch up.
You said about having the high school students at East Meadow.
When you start to hear me or not.
Audrey, did you get that?
Yeah, she said about having the high school students at East Meadow.
Yeah. Well, we were supposed to have them, all the high schools on the 19th. Right.
She said something like they were supposed to be
But
at
they're
the
not
high
all
school.
done yet, right?
Okay. But they're not.
There's still high school students in East Meadow.
Okay. So our second cohort of Granby Junior Senior High School students are on track to start Monday, October 26th. We were supposed to move the cohort 1 students this past Monday, but we had a couple of adjustments to make to 2 classrooms before they could move. So they are moving Thursday morning. Thursday morning, they will be back in Granby Junior Senior High School.
Right. Jen wanted to, I don't want to hear myself speak for herself. She called me and she's on my phone right now. Here you go, Jen.
So I'm just wondering if we do that, what do we do for the parents that were expecting people to come in on the 19th?
It did not impact anything at East Meadow.
Okay.
And there were no, the second phase for Granby Junior Senior High School was October 26th. So it did not impact the phase 2.
Thank you. That
was very creative, Jen.
Yeah.
Jen,
it's like
Jen,
seeking a lifeline.
Yeah. Well, Jen, the other thing you can do is you can mute your video and you can call on the phone, and that way there you'll have both. So if you do your video and mute yourself and you call on the phone, then you'll always have good voice.
Did we lose Jen Millette, by the way?
Yeah.
Yes, I noticed that a few minutes ago.
Okay.
She said she wasn't feeling well and that she was considering going to the ER.
Oh, no.
Oh.
All right, that's not good.
Oh.
All right. Any other questions for Carol on any of those topics? So thank you, Carol, for that. And again, just, maybe this is my theme this evening, but really there's a lot of work that is going on in the background. And I think part of the concerns or questions that we are hearing, and sometimes, some of those concerns and questions go in far stretches, and before we can get in front of it, they basically start making their rounds, is because some of these concepts are not well understood. So I appreciate that you explained the difference between a regular day and deep cleaning day, how some of these things are doing, how the safety committee is talking about these changes in numbers and how that is affecting, if at all, anything that we are doing on the school side. So we should probably have these types of updates and information at every meeting, because it's not really easy to keep up for an ordinary individual. It's not easy to keep up for us either. So it's good to it's good to know these things, and thank you for that. I will move to the last item on our continuing business, which is related to our superintendent search, which is a topic that we started talking about last time. And the school committee at that time decided that we would prefer to go out, which means we basically would go and start the process with the assistance of a consultant, instead of doing it in two steps, focusing on internal candidates, potential internal candidates first, and then going out to external candidates. Everybody still is eligible to put their names in the hat, but the school committee wanted to move forward with a quicker approach to seeking consultant assistance. So with that, I reached out to two known consultancy organizations. One is our MASC, Massachusetts Association of School Committees, and they were the ones who helped us last time. And the second one is NESDEC, NESDEC, and don't ask me for their opening. It's a little longer. I did not receive any response from NESDEC yet. And, to be fair, I just sent a request for information from them. MASC responded saying that, hey, just let us know how you would like us to help you, what kind of information you need. They could not be here at this meeting this evening. That's the reason why I did not really expedite anybody else to be at this meeting. But for our next meeting, we can invite these organizations to make a presentation, or we can ask them simply for their packages, and just, based on the packages, we can have our conversation. Our past typical approach was to ask them for a presentation of short duration, maybe 15, 20 minutes each, to give us some understanding of their process, what they do, what they help on, what the timeline looks like, how much it costs, and when they can start. In addition to these two organizations that I knew about and I reached out to, TMS reached out to me and said, well, we heard that you are going to be searching for your next superintendent. Would like to be considered for that as well. You may remember that TMS was the organization that was doing our finances for a while, and one of our past interim superintendents, Judy Hool, is working with them, and I think she is assigned to this area and this particular topic of search, so she would be the consultant helping. She's the one who reached out to me to let me know that their services are available as well. So what I wanted to ask the committee is twofold. One of them is, would you be in favor of inviting these three organizations to make brief presentations to us at our next meeting, or any other meeting outside our next meeting, if we believe that we don't want to, spend an hour of our next meeting for this? It's all up to us to decide how we want to do it. If it's our next meeting, I will immediately contact them tomorrow and ask them for their availability on November 4th and see if they can come and do their presentations. And they can send somebody virtually, obviously, to answer questions. The second question that I wanted to ask, since we now have decided that we're going forward with this search process, and it takes a while. In fact, the draft timeline that I received from one of these organizations is showing that if we start in November, it could go all the way to March. So it is a fairly lengthy process, potentially. It could be shorter too, but it could be as long as that. Do we want to go out and solicit for names for our search committee? Because when these consultants come in, the first thing that they're going to want to do is form a search committee. And it's going to be outside. We're going to have representation as school committee, but it's going to be outside our purview. It's going to be a search committee that will be doing a good chunk of the work during that search process. So one is, would you like them to be with us on the 4th? If not, when? 2, would you like us to start the search committee, gathering the search committee starting tomorrow, maybe, or this week sometime? And I'll turn it to all of you.
So quick question. So
Yes.
you said last time we used MASC, did we interview other people?
Yes.
Or last time too? And what were those the same companies that have reached back to us this time?
MASC and NASDAQ were the two that we knew about, and we interviewed them.
Okay.
I honestly don't know. I wasn't the chair then, whether or not there were other organizations that we reached out to. Maybe they didn't come, or we just, upfront said, they're not qualified to help. But we interviewed 2 of these 3 organizations that I mentioned, and those were the 2 that I reached out, knowing from past experience, MASC and NASDAQ. Any other questions before we hear about your thoughts about those 2 questions that I had? All right, so what do you think? Should we invite them for our next meeting? Let's start with that. All 3 of them to make presentations and let us know what their process looks like, what they will do for us, and how much they cost, what the process is. Is that good? November 4th?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Jen, Stephanie?
Like 15 minutes max, Emery?
I actually offered 15, I think, to one of them when I was just gauging it. Yeah, just because we say 15 and it goes a little longer, and we want to be respectful to each one of them so that, they come in, they don't overlap with the next one. Yeah, absolutely. Good idea. Good idea. How about Jen or Stephanie? Any thoughts? You're good with that? The 4th?
I think Jen froze.
Jen froze, yes.
I'm good.
To send their packages beforehand.
We can ask them to do that. Absolutely. So we can review and be prepared. Absolutely. That would expedite the process too. All right. So it looks like we are good with November 4th. Ask them to send their packages related to the search process beforehand so we can review and be prepared. What else? Anything else? So I will reach out to all 3 of them tomorrow and let them know, and I will let the committee know if any one of them cannot make it to November 4th.
Your secondary question was on starting the search or
Yes,
search
the second
committee.
one is related to the search committee. Should we just go ahead and start it? Because it takes a little while to form that committee too. It takes a couple of weeks at least.
I'm okay with that. Let's get that process started.
All right, Stephanie and
I agree.
Jen?
If there are people interested, how do they, okay.
No, I was.
Oh, if there are people interested, how do they reach out saying that they're interested? How does that, become?
So I would work with Carol to find the best way that allows us to reach out to as many people as possible. But with that, I have an additional question now for all of you. This is typically boilerplate, but let's just go through the list. What type of representation do we envision in that search committee? So what I'm saying is, members of the school community, it could be teachers, it could be administration, it could be school committee, staff members. Just let's go through the list, even though it's pretty clear cut probably.
I personally liked how we set up the reopening committee with having all of those different representatives.
Okay.
We could almost just look back at that list and it went through, community members, parents, faculty. I think it kind of hit all of the boxes. And I think that shows a well-rounded group.
Cool. And are we, so what I have here is that we're going to have a composition similar to what we had for the reopening committees, which, as you said, had representation from all stakeholders. Parents
Just
were
not
there.
20.
We even had students. We had, community members. We had teachers. We had staff members, administration, school committee members. So we'll do that. And finally, last question. Are we okay with Carol being our contact person with this? Sorry, Carol, I'm just going to put you in charge of this. And also going through the communication process with those individuals who are interested, so that she can, whenever she cannot make a decision, she can let us know. But or maybe actually let's just do this.
But I mean, Emery, I don't have a problem being that point person.
Yeah.
For
Would you
people.
like somebody from the school committee be your helper, and then as you are sifting through the names, if there are many names, just to make a decision, who?
Sure. I mean,
Okay.
that would be fine.
Okay. Or otherwise, typically, our superintendent can do that. Don't feel obligated. Okay. So Carol, thank you for being voluntold. Thank you for doing that. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. If there are names that you're not familiar with, we can.
So am I sending out the notification, or is
Yes.
the school?
Yes.
Yeah.
The only challenge is this: you probably are able to reach out to those families that are connected to our schools. How do we reach out to the broader community? Let's just talk about that tomorrow and find the best way and do that.
I mean, is that something too that they could post on the Granby Rams app? The Granby, we can share that obviously on social media, encourage other people to share it.
If you want to do that, yeah.
I mean, I think when I did the reopening, I put it out all over the place, and then people applied. So
cool. All right. So it looks like that works well. Let's do it that way.
Okay.
So when people apply, then, sorry if I missed it, what's the next step? If we have an overwhelming amount of interest, just perhaps, like, how do we narrow?
We would probably pick random representation from each one of those groups.
Yeah.
Each one of those
if you decide,
different categories.
Yeah. Like when I did it by twos, pretty much. 2 parents, 2 teachers, 2 administrator, like, so there was equal representation. So if we're saying we're going to have 2 parents, then we would probably have 1 from East Meadow and 1 from Granby Junior Senior High School, that type of, because you don't want to have so many people that it makes it really difficult to make a decision.
And it does. I mean, it does it difficult. It makes it difficult for the consultants as well, because they have to facilitate the process and get some consensus.
Yep.
But it doesn't mean that we should not have a sufficient number of individuals and a good representation from each one of those segments. So that's a balance that we need to strike.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So that's all I had for this item.
How many of us get to be on that? Because we can't all be on it, or are we all on it?
No.
Or they filter first and then we see after? Sorry, I just want a clear picture.
No, that's a good question. In fact, we can go ahead and decide on that now. We can have up to 2, so that we don't have a quorum. We cannot have 3, because at the end of the day, all that information will come to the school committee for a final decision. We don't want to make it look like the school committee already had a quorum and that decision was made. So we will have up to 2 members of our school committee. And if you're interested, please, let's do the same thing and just, reach out to Carol and let's go with that. How does that sound?
And we'll make sure to clue Jen Millett in on all of this as well. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm kind of worried that, she said that, but all right. Hopefully she's doing well. Okay, so that is the end of the continuing item section, but we have our superintendent's report. If you have anything for us, Carol?
No more than I already shared.
Okay.
Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Did you have a question, Jen? I think she's gonna have to call Stephanie again.
Wow,
Okay, so as we're waiting for Jen to unfreeze,
so,
Adam. Oh, go ahead.
I got her.
All right, go
Yes.
ahead, Jen.
So if
I think
Carol
I'll text it to Stephanie and she can read
we
it.
see them to help pick who's going to be on the committee.
Can you say it one more time?
So if Carol will collect all of the names, like
Yep.
the volunteers for the students and teachers and everything, can we help pick who's on that committee, or is it up to her?
You could. That's what I was asking. I would, in that case, I would just ask one of you to just be Carol's helper to determine that list, and again, not make it a huge production by the school committee, which it should not be anyway.
Okay, I guess I wouldn't mind helping.
Okay, all right, that's good. If you can get in touch with Carol and arrange for that, that will be awesome. Thank you for offering.
Sure thing.
All right. Adam, do you have any updates for us?
Yeah, just a few. I'll keep them quick, short. FY21. So for the next meeting, I'll start providing the reports, the financial reports. I'll have a few different versions that we can look at, if we can discuss and get an agreement on how you guys want to see it going forward. But I will provide some financial information for FY21 starting at our November 4th meeting. FY20 end of year, we're still waiting on end of year information from Chris. Carol spoke to him last week. He was finishing up the FEMA application on Friday, and it was going to hope to get started and finish his part for end of year for FY20. We do have an extension through for October 30th, which is next Friday, to submit our end of year report. So we're getting pretty close. I mean, it's going to be close. So when we get his information to get that report submitted by the 30th, I'm going to try everything I can to do it. I've done as much as I can on my end while waiting for his numbers. So we're still waiting on those from him.
Okay.
He spoke with Carol last week and said he'd be working on it and he'd get it to us.
Yeah. Okay. So you said FY21 with all these crazy things that are happening, what the picture really looks like. You're going to start sharing that next time. Okay.
Yep.
The one question I have with you is related to the, obviously a good number of activities are happening. I mean, we have this, unexpected, events going on around us, but some things are happening regardless. And some of those are, if we have special education students who need to go somewhere, they are going somewhere if they need their assistance. So we see all those in our warrants that, all those transactions are happening. But one of them that remains curious is related to our bus contract. So, things changed. And I think Carol, as she was talking about, students coming in, she mentioned that, at least the early days, the buses look thin, just, we don't have a lot of students. If it turns out that most families decide to drop off their children personally at the schools, I can't imagine that it's going to be everyone, but if it's a large number or greater than expected, do you think that we will be in a position to go back and say, look, we can't have a bus running with 4 students. We have to find some alternatives for this, and probably reflected, hopefully, on the contract?
Yeah, certainly. So, and I had forwarded you some information last week. First student had reached out to us, Belchertown and Ware, to start the discussion about compensation for the days, the remote days that we don't need transportation. And according to them, already had a few districts within the Commonwealth, commit to paying them a percentage of the daily rate for days that they're not using buses. Carol forwarded that information to Chris because I certainly want his input and the town's input. So it's an ongoing conversation. If we have one kid riding the bus for East Meadow, I would like to, maybe try to figure out some ways where we can maybe add that student to another bus that has multiple kids and reduce the number of buses that we're using. So I think it's going to be an ongoing conversation all year. But yes, we are having those conversations with First Student. At the same time, they are looking for some compensation on the days that we aren't using buses, which is a bigger topic that we'll need to discuss, and we'll need the town's input on how to move forward with that.
Right. Yeah, that's gonna be an interesting conversation. I think the circumstances were different in March when out of the blue we got hit with this pandemic and we shut down, and it was really with the intent of doing our part in helping a partner, but this is a planning process. Things were not really as certain for this. I'm hoping that they had some contingencies and all that, besides the fact that we don't know the situation with the next PPP. So they may actually be receiving some compensation for their workforce. And at the end of the day, you mentioned this even in March, that we had to go to Chris to confirm whether or not we could even consider doing what they were asking us to do, because I believe the state says you only pay for the services rendered. If the services are not rendered, then so it's going to be an interesting conversation. But let's see how we first gather our facts and then have the conversation based on those facts.
Yeah. Yep. So transportation, again, it's going to be an ongoing conversation, I would see, for the next 2-3 months, as we hopefully settle in getting kids back into the school. So it'll be an ongoing topic.
Cool. Any questions? All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a couple other things is Carol and I have also reached out to Chris about getting some grant information, because a lot of those expenses that we are seeing on the warrants are coming out of our general fund, but once I can get some grant information, they'll be moved over to COVID related grants that we have, which is it's about $100,000 give or take of expenses that our general fund has absorbed so far that I need to move on to grants. So we've reached out to him. Hopefully we can get that information this week. That's it for updates. Again, Ken was on. I just want to make sure, give him and his staff another shout out. They've been, obviously he provided you the numbers and some details as to what they're doing. They're doing an awesome job. We, like you said, we were doing 20 meals in March and April, and we're up to, 500-600 meals a day between breakfast and lunch. So his staff is, him and his staff are doing an awesome job. And John Sullivan and his staff, and, I said it last meeting, I just don't want to forget them, that him and his staff are doing an awesome job getting the room set up, East Meadow, the high school doing whatever they can to make sure we can get kids back into the school safely. So I just don't want them to go unnoticed.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. I have a few notes here, and hopefully the numbers are correct, but I jotted down 3 grants that you had mentioned before we get to FEMA-MEMA type of grants. There was one for $41,000 for remote learning, $69,000 plus from CARES, and $155,000 or so from COVID relief grants. Did we receive all of these as you anticipated?
Yes. Yep. Okay. All of them have been received.
All right. So that's good. I mean, I think that's the kind of news that we should be sharing, and not assume that everybody knows. That's good, because those are the types of grants that we had to, as a school district, go and apply for and clarify and receive. So thank you for that. Thank you for confirming that we received them.
And I do think I mentioned those it wasn't the last meeting, but maybe the meeting before, I did mention that we have received those grants as we applied for.
Okay. I thought we had not received all of them, but good to know. Thank you for that.
Yep.
Anything else before we wrap up? Any questions for Adam or Carol? Okay. All right. So I wanna echo what both Carol and Adam said as we wrap up tonight. We have been in this situation for the last 7 months, and going on into 8th, I guess. This is not what we are accustomed to. Neither as residents of this town nor as human beings in general. Just there's a lot of uncertainty. And within that uncertainty, a lot of folks are doing a lot of work to make sure that certain things at least work similar to what we remember them as. And schools, that's what we're trying. That's one of the things that we're trying to do. Well, I'm saying we, but I'm basically, I feel like I'm by saying we, I'm taking credit for it. But I want to make sure that I echo what Adam said. Folks who are working every day to make sure that the schools are safe. I want to thank our teachers. I want to thank our custodians. I want to thank our administrators. I want to acknowledge the countless hours that they spend behind the scenes to make sure that what they are doing is really, one, the safest way to do it. Two, if there is more information to be had, they go out, seek, and spend time on receiving that information. The few things, the line items, the bullet points that Carol mentioned earlier, either it's a safety committee doing its work. It's not just one meeting. Those folks actually are, having many hours in the background, receiving and reviewing information. I want to thank our partners on the Board of Health. I want to thank our partners on the state side, on the town side. I want to thank those individuals from the state who basically came, 2 of them, to make sure that we were clear that we were not going to be in violation of any green community agreement. These are the types of activities that go in the background because we are at a time of uncertainty and we're trying to make sure that we are doing the best in the safest way possible for the school district. So I'm thinking that I'm saying this on behalf of the entire school committee. Thank you all for doing what you do. Thank you all for making sure that our schools are safe, our students are safe, our teachers are safe, and we are doing what we can to provide the education that they need from our public schools. So thank you. I just wanted to mention that, and I wanted to acknowledge all the great work that is being done. Hopefully I did not forget anybody, but you all know who you are. With that, we do not have an executive session this evening, so that wraps up our meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, finally.
If I could find my mute button.
I was worried for a moment, Stephanie.
Well, I'm like, look at the time. Like, are we sure? This is like a record.
Can't be, right? All right, is there a second?
I will second.
All right, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, have a good evening. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, all of you, and thank you, our visitors, for coming and staying with us.